Have you ever noticed how some patterns just show up in the most unexpected places? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most fundamental rhythms in the entire universe.
Okay, let's just dive right in. Think about a swinging pendulum, a vibrating guitar string, and the slow flowing movements of a Tai Chi master. I mean, they seem completely unrelated, right? But what if I told you they're all, in a way, dancing to the exact same beat?
Because they are. It's this simple, universal rhythm. It's a kind of predictable back and forth that governs everything from tiny atoms to, well, much bigger things. And I promise once you learn how to spot it, you are going to see it absolutely everywhere.
So what is this secret rhythm? Well, scientists, of course, have a name for it, and it's really the key to unlocking this whole pattern. It's called simple harmonic motion. Yeah, I know, SHM. That definition might sound a little academic, but the idea behind it is incredibly simple. Just imagine pulling a rubber band. The farther you pull it, the harder it wants to snap back to where it started, to its resting position. That snapback, that's the restoring force, and that simple relationship is the very heart of SHM. So let's see how this one idea builds into actual hard science. Because this isn't just some vague concept, you know? It's a fundamental law of physics, and it can be described with just a beautifully simple equation.
This is it. F equals minus kx, Hooke's law. It's just 3 letters and a minus sign. But this little formula describes pretty much every perfect oscillation in the universe. It's so elegant, so powerful, and it's the engine driving this whole thing.
So let's break it down really quick. F is that snapback, that restoring force. K, that's the spring constant, which is basically just how stiff the spring or the rubber band is. And X is how far you've stretched it from its comfy resting point. Oh, and that little minus sign? That's actually crucial. It just tells us that the force is always pulling it back toward the center. Simple as that.
And check this out. This is how scientists actually test this in the real world. This whole setup is basically a lab version of a bungee jump. They just attach a weight to a bungee cord and measure exactly how far it stretches. It's a perfect, real-world example of simple harmonic motion in action.
And boom, here's the proof right in the data. You see how as the mass goes up, the stretch of the chord, the displacement, goes up in a perfectly predictable way? It's a totally clear linear relationship. It's F equals minus kx, proven with real numbers. It just works.
Okay, so this pattern governs a bouncing bungee cord. But what happens when that oscillation, that back and forth vibration, starts happening really, really fast? Well, it stops being something you just see, and it becomes something you can actually hear.
And that brings us to harmony. See, when a guitar string vibrates, it's undergoing simple harmonic motion. When you play multiple strings together, their frequencies create these mathematical ratios. And here's the magic. When those ratios are simple, like 2-to-1 or 3-to-2, our brains hear that combination as pleasant. We call it harmonious. It's literally physics creating beauty.
Now you might be thinking, okay, sure, that works for simple sounds, but what about super complex music like classical and jazz? I mean, surely they're operating on different harmonic planets, right? Well, you'd be surprised.
I absolutely love this quote from a user on a music theory forum. It just nails it. As they point out, jazz and classical are basically siblings. All the complex chords, the wacky stuff you hear in jazz, it all has roots and direct parallels in classical music that go back for centuries. The fundamental system of harmony, the one based on these resonant oscillations, is the same.
So we've seen this universal rhythm in the physical world, we've heard it in our music, but the pattern doesn't stop there. Not even close. It's also happening right now inside every single one of us.
Which leads to a pretty interesting question. What if the thing that's oscillating is you? What if your own body could be tuned to operate on these exact same principles of balance and flow and restoring force?
Well, this is the very essence of Tai Chi. You can think of it as a practice for mastering your body's own natural oscillations. Through mindfulness and getting your body aligned just right, you find your center of equilibrium, just like that resting point of a spring. Then, with these flowing, relaxed motions, you strengthen your body's ability to always restore its own balance.
And here's the crucial thing. This is not just some philosophical idea. The science behind it is incredibly strong. Just look at this table. For preventing falls, for helping with osteoarthritis and Parkinson's disease, the level of evidence for its benefit is rated as excellent. That is a huge deal in scientific reviews.
And that conclusion isn't based on just a handful of studies. We're talking about an enormous body of research. over 120 separate systematic reviews have been published on the health benefits of Tai Chi. This is a well-established, evidence-based practice, and it's grounded in these same principles of rhythmic motion.
All right, so we've connected physics, music, and the human body all through this one single repeating pattern. But let's push it one step further. Let's go to a place you would probably never expect to find it, the world of finance.
Believe it or not, some traders in the stock market are constantly on the lookout for what they call harmonic patterns. These are repeating shapes on price charts with these wild names like the bat, the butterfly, and the shark. And they're defined by specific mathematical ratios, the same kind of Fibonacci relationships found in musical harmony. The theory is that these patterns, these market oscillations, can actually help predict when a price trend is about to reverse.
So let's just end on this thought. If this one simple rhythm, this back and forth oscillation to a central point, underpins the laws of physics, the very structure of our music, the health of our own bodies, and even shows up in the patterns of our financial markets, where else might you find it? What other parts of your world are quietly humming along to the rhythm of everything?